Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and today our guest is Marc. Marc, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So, Marc, let us know where you live and what you do.
So I'm currently in Arkansas, and I met Dan, your co-founder. He gave me this business card over at Sub Summit 2025 at the Sheraton Hotel in Dallas. I've dubbed myself Passive Revenue Consultant. My specialty is strategic alliances. So I'm what my mentor and I affectionately refer to as a marketing grasshopper. So what we do is we hop onto one business over here, and then we hop onto another business over there, and we bring them together, and we find ways for them to collaborate together in highly strategic ways to help them grow their customer lifetime value, customer loyalty, and do as much automation during that process as possible.
Awesome. Well, I think this is the beauty of the entrepreneurship, like these strategic partnerships. In this way, different businesses are helping each other. So this is awesome. But can you guide us a little bit more on it, like how these partnerships are more helpful for the businesses? Because I have seen many businesses who prefer to have an in-house team for everything. I know I'm also doing a business, and I know we cannot do everything. This is almost like you can say nearly impossible. So can you put some more light on it, how these strategic partnerships are more effective for the businesses?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of think of a strategic partnership more as a mentality more than a tactic. So for me, it's more about, a rising tide lifts all boats kind of approach. And I see everything almost as a strategic partnership. So you're in a strategic partnership with your customer to add value to their lives and for them to add value to your business. You're in a partnership with your staff so that they have competence and accountability and get things done. And they're in a partnership with you that you run a successful business so they have a way to put a roof over their head, feed their families and things like that. I also have an interview series where I bring people on similar to this. This is a 15-minute appearance. I have a 10-minute appearance, right? So I'll just chopping 5 minutes out of there. But that's a partnership too. We're here in partnership to create content for the viewer, hopefully to add value to their lives. And then with businesses can partner with each other to share in the profits of adding value to their customers. And so the typical way that they do that is what they call joint venture, So it's like, hey, you have a product we don't sell that's complementary to what we sell. And I have a product that's complementary to what you sell. So why don't we come together and trade promotions? And so that's like the standard. That's how it all began back in the day, is let's swap promotions. And so that works okay if you know each other, you have a lasting relationship, you've worked together before. But typically, if you're trying to do strategic alliances with other companies who have your ideal customers, ideal products, there's new companies popping up all the time that are doing a great job, and they're just as interested and invested at doing a great job as you are. You're not going to know these guys. Companies come and go, but the ones that are long lasting, everybody wants their attention. Everybody wants to be their partner. And so if you go to them and you ask to trade promotions, it just gets lost in the noise. So essentially what I do is I flip the script and I tell them, hey, let's have the mentality of adding value to your customers first. Let's increase your customer lifetime value. Let's bring in other companies as partners and promote them exclusively to your customers. And that way you send them customers, you send them money. They don't have any cost of sale. There's no advertising expense, and they don't know you. So when you offer to promote them for free, it's a pretty low barrier to entry to get that offer accepted. And so if things go well, they know you, they like you, they trust you. And then now you can do reciprocal promotions. So
Makes sense. Makes sense. So in terms of shouting loud, like in terms of marketing, how you reach the prospects and how you spread the awareness, because I believe still this method needs awareness education. So obviously when education is also involved in this thing, then in this case you have to let people know in different ways, you have to reach them in different ways. So how you are doing this? Are you using social media in this case, or you are using offline market? Like in offline marketing, obviously, networking events are also part of it, but I want to know, like, if you are using a mix and match of it, or you have something else in your mind.
Basically, how do I reach prospects that get the word out about what I do is what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, there's always a variety of approaches, but there's a core approach, right? So doing interviews like this is a big portion of it. So I have and then we're just getting started. So this is, I believe, my fourth podcast. A lot of them, they just take a while to come out many times. So I have some in the hopper, so to speak. They're still marinating. But so we recently in the middle of a move, and I've taken on a bunch of great clients. So I've been super busy. But so I interview leading e-commerce experts in the space. I get them to come on my show and give me their best piece of advice, whether that's mindset, tactics, strategy, challenge they've overcome that ended up being very profitable. And then I go on podcasts and I just say, hey, I'd love to share some of my experts' tips with your audience, the best ones. And then of course I'm one of the tips at the end as well. And so that generates awareness and, some credibility in the space that, hey, this guy's doing some cool things. He gets some stuff done. But it's back to traditional things, maybe like, hey, we're on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has really grown as a networking platform. That's how I got invited out to Sub Summit to do a live interview, which is in my series. That was fun. And then email. Hey, stumbled across your website. I have an idea that could potentially help you grow your business. Do you want to talk about stuff like that? Lead magnets, free reports. Like if you sign up for my interview series, you're going to get a lead magnet that tells you all about what I do. And so, content basically, right?
Exactly. Yeah, content. If your content is good, then obviously, I think you don't need to be dependent on any platform, on one platform. But yeah, obviously it works. So, all right. In terms of onboarding your prospect, in fact, onboarding your client, how this process works, and is there any eligibility criteria as well? Anyone can be your client.
No one, not everyone can be my client. And that's probably true for everybody who sells any service or any product. Onboarding is fairly simple. We just have a conversation after they reach out to me or I reach out to them. And we set the baseline criteria of what you need in order to succeed at what I do, because this is all about leverage. You probably know this, but I've always been constantly surprised by how many e-commerce companies do like $5 or $10 million a year, but they don't collect emails. They don't send emails to their list. It's all front end sales. And then there's no relationship building on the back end. So basically you're just every day you got to kill what you eat. And then if something goes wrong with your advertising or your content, the algorithm changes. You haven't really built that well before you thirst. The best client for me is someone who has built actively a relationship with their subscriber. So you need to have collected their emails of prospects as well as customers, and then contact them frequently, at least maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And not just content only, but like put your personality in there, where you come from, your stories. And then if they have a bond with you and you have a quality product, right? So that's really important. You have a quality product, and you got to be doing at least maybe like $2 to $15 million a year to really get the value out of this. We have a conversation. We set that baseline. Okay, you have email marketing. You have a relationship with your customers. You have revenue. You're operational. What's your best-selling product? Let me see that. Please provide a link. And we look at that, and then we can kind of analyze, okay, you're a great business. You have a potential opportunity here to add value to your customers. Then we just leverage what you already have. All right, so we use the assets you already have. There's no additional marketing costs, no additional logistics, no additional staff, anything like this. We tap into your email marketing. We survey your customers. We ask them what else they are already buying to achieve their goals, their complete goals. And they will tell you if you ask them in a friendly way, sort of like social media-esque style, where you're trying to elicit like their true experience. And so we just analyze the results, and you'll usually get a really good list of complementary related products that you're not selling, that they are already buying, that they love. And so we just say, would you like to, do this idea? Would you like to sell more things to your customers to increase their loyalty to you? because you're eliminating their need to go out and buy these things on their own, maybe waste some time and money sifting through thousands of options on the marketplace. They don't know what's good or bad. If you can use your expertise in your market to provide them quality options that they're already interested in, they really appreciate that curated experience. And so I just say, do you want to do that? And if they say yes, we survey the customers, we start setting up deals, we negotiate fair, beneficial win-win mission structures, and we keep the winners, automate them into your business, and cut the losers. It's a very simple process. Yeah.
Awesome. So, if we ask you about your differentiators, then what are your top two differentiators?
Probably simplicity and leverage, I would say, because we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here or be a pioneer with arrows in our back. I mean, sharing customers is like the original business back in the day. And my mother's from New York. She's from Yonkers. And so I always think back to back when they had the baker and the candlestick maker and the barber. You go to the wedding. Maybe you're having a wedding. It doesn't really matter. Let's say you're having a party, right? You go to the bakery, you get a cake, and then you're like, hey, you know what else I need is flowers, right? So if they don't have flowers in the retail store, then they can refer you to Susie, the flower lady. And if you go tell them that Bob, the baker, sent you, she'll take 10% off your order. And then Bob gets a little kickback for sending you. But if they get more sophisticated, they'll have Susie's flowers in Bob's store already, and you can purchase them direct. And so that's the same thing with this kind of business model, is you're just bringing like businesses together. That makes sense. They obviously have to be complementary, and related. If you sell products that don't make sense, then the customer just gets the sense that you don't really understand your business. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Mark, every day many businesses are just shutting down, and obviously every day new businesses are coming into the market. But on the other hand, on the other side of the picture, many businesses are leaving the industry. They just shut down, burn out. And the biggest reason that we were able to know was the challenges, because they are facing new challenges every day. I know challenges are never going anywhere. They are meant to be for the entrepreneurs. So I'm sure you must have faced many challenges till now, but can you share one interesting challenge with us? And if you can let us know how you were able to address it, this will be a plus.
Yeah, so this is pretty timely for me, because sometimes you do really great, and then other times you have the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys of life. And so I never thought this would happen to me, but back in the day when I never had, I hadn't reached the level of success yet that I would like, but I've ended up generating a few millions of dollars for my clients. And then I always thought that once I hit it big or whatever in my own eyes, that that would be it. I would just be successful. There'd be no going back. But it turns out sometimes when you reach some sort of level of success, it's very easy to sort of become complacent and stop doing what got you there. And then especially in today's day and age, especially e-commerce, there's so much distraction and complexity, and things are changing all the time. So I think there's nothing more, and this is not new, but there's nothing more important today than focus and eliminating distraction. And then taking responsibility for being conscious of wherever your business is at. I interviewed a lot of people for my series, and it's just common that business owners don't want to look at the bad numbers. They only want to look at the good numbers. But if you don't look at what's bad, you can't change it. You can't cut the fat. And so it's really taking responsibility for being conscious of where you're at, and then taking responsibility for focusing on what is actually working. And then also experimenting with some of the new stuff, but not letting it let your head spin. It's a challenging thing to do. I find getting mentors helps me stay focused.
Yeah, mentors always play a vital role in this regard. Initially, I was thinking, okay, when I started business, I thought, oh yeah, I don't need any mentor. I can handle it. And eventually I faced a lot of losses. Then I thought, okay, I should meet some mentors as well.
Yeah, and there's different kinds of mentors, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you need a technical expertise mentor. And I don't mean technology, but I mean maybe you need to learn something new that you don't know. So you need a mentor with expertise, but then that's not always your accountability mentor. You might also need a mentor that practices with you, holding you accountable to what you said you would do for as long as you said you would do it every day consistently. And that's been the one place where I probably need the most improvement.
Awesome. Mark, what will be, in fact, not will be, but what are your short-term goals? What you are looking for maybe in next 4 to 6 months?
Okay, short term, that's a pretty good question. I'm not really thinking too short term right now. Like, I do want to, so I added $5.5 million in profits to a network of companies once. And so my goal, I consider this possibly to be short term. By the end of 2030, I want to do another 50 million in profits for brands by the end of 2030. And in order to do that, I just need to work with high quality companies who have great quality products, who are open minded to collaborating with other top brands to add more value to their customers. And it sort of builds you a moat around your business, right? Where you're a little bit more protected against the changes in the algorithms for advertising or content. Because, yeah, if you get really good reciprocal relationships going, they're long lasting and they're free. You know, it's just time and relationship, basically. So that's my short-term goal is 2030.
Makes sense. And where do you see your company after maybe 5 years?
That's where I'm looking to go, man. So I'm sort of a one-man band. You know, we have VAs, we have, you know, like assistants. We have AI, who's done a really good job of replacing a lot of that. But so basically a one-man show. I work with a small group of 4 clients every quarter. You know, and then once we get them set up and we get them automated with their promotions for partners in 6 different ways, basically I bring on more clients. And so by the end of 2030, I just want to do 50 million in profits for other companies.
Awesome. That's great. So, Mark, at the end, what would be your biggest piece of advice for our audience? And our audience is, again, the entrepreneurs who are struggling with the challenges or the ones who are planning to be their own boss.
You mean like the early stage people?
Yeah, early stage people. Yeah, early stage. Yeah, exactly.
So the thing about that is there's nothing new under the sun. Basically, you know, I read this the other day that the worst thing you can have in business is a sales pitch that sells a mediocre product. And in physical products, there's really no better strategy than having a top quality product. All right. So you got to have something excellent, but then you got to go back to marketing fundamentals, you know, message, market, media. You know, you have to have an appealing message, one that doesn't oversell your product, but it sells it just the way it is, high quality product. And then you got to reach these people. You know, Facebook ads is very popular, but there's more than that under the sun. Google ads. I have a lot of different people in my interview series for advertising on Google in ways that people just, you know, they haven't thought of before with automation. And then media, market message media, like who's your customer? What are you saying to them? How are you reaching them? And then don't forget about back end stuff. Every customer you get, you know, there's lifetime value that can be built just by telling them who you are, why you started your company, your mission, why you're doing this, and keep up that level of communication. And that's really how a lot of these big companies grow is they communicate with their customers frequently on the back end. And so don't drop the needle on that.
Awesome.
Don't drop the ball.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for the beautiful advice, Mark. At the end, please let our viewers know how they can reach you if someone wants to.
Yeah, so I have this interview series. If you are a early stage, medium stage, or late stage e-commerce brand, and you need 1 or 2 things that can move the needle depending on your level of your business, have an interview series called 10-Minute Ecom Success at 10minuteecomsuccess.com, where I've interviewed leading experts like Kurt Elster from the Unofficial Shopify podcast, Chase Clymer from Honest E-commerce, Chloe Thomas from E-commerce Master Plan. And so you can find things that are foundational, like how do we identify how we want to be in business? What's our story? Who's our customer? Then the data, looking at data. Jesse Pooji from Bootstrap Giants is on there. Andrew Warner's partner from Mixergy. And he hammered people on the numbers because he's like a McKinsey Goldman consultant, right? And his super fun interview. But so these are 10-minute interviews where you can get one takeaway depending on where you're at in your business. And when you sign up, there's an index. So I sort of broke it down by like traffic generation or back-end marketing, email, stuff like this. And so when you opt in for that, you get the full interview series. One of me live at Sub Summit that I got invited to because of it. Content. And then I also send you like a free report about what I do, which is about how to add 6 or 7 figures in passive revenue to your business in as little as 60 days with no cost of marketing. So that's always fun.
That's awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really pleasure to meeting you today because I learned a lot of things and learned about the strategic partnerships as well. So this is awesome. And I wish you best of luck. And I think we will stay in touch.
Yeah, and tell Dan I said hi, Mr. Dan. Dan Melnick. He's coming on my show soon.
Well, awesome, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye for now.